What's good, y'all? We are back with another video, man. I've been gone for I think it's about 2 weeks now? Almost 3 weeks. Almost took a month off, gang. I've been going through some stuff, but I've been definitely trying to get my money right. I've been pushing my basketball channel, my basketball Instagram, J10 Entertainment, no spaces. Go check that out. I'm finna start posting ones on my YouTube, but hey, we back with another video on the reaction channel. This is the worst execution methods from around the world. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get into some dark demonic stuff right here. So if you like the video, drop a like. Thank y'all for getting me to 420 subs, man. I feel like I just hit 400 yesterday. I can't even say how much I appreciate y'all. We on the road to 500, then we on the road to 6, 7, 8. And once we hit that 1,000, it's going up from there. So make sure you drop a like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how you feel about the video. We're gonna go ahead and get into it.
The craziest execution methods from around the world. When you talk about executions, everybody seems to talk about what their last meal would be, but nobody seems to talk about what their execution method would be. And in this video, I'm going to show you some truly obscure and brutal execution methods from around the world that you would never want to experience. And
what's the way that you would want to go out? I mean, it's not really no good way to die for real, but what's a way that you wouldn't mind dying? Like me, I feel like I want to get blown up. Honestly, because I mean, you ain't gonna feel it, right? You probably won't even know what happened to you. You just gonna wake up and wherever you at. You feel what I'm saying? So I definitely don't want to die in a car crash. I don't want to die overdosing on no type of drugs. I don't want to get shot. It's a lot of ways I don't want to die, but it's very few ways that I'll be like, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing that, low key.
This video only gets more brutal as the list goes on. Italy. Falling. Italy has a long and rich history, and for that reason, I'm going to give a few examples of how they used this one torture method throughout.
What the nigga, where this architectural structure, that shit do not look safe, gang. Earthquake hit this bitch, y'all are dying. You think you lit because you got a good view, you dying first, nigga. Your shit tipping over. It's water over here, a tsunami. Hey, that water look crystal blue. Like, boy, that shit look good as hell though.
Different parts of its history in different ways. Let's start in pre-Roman Sardinia. Imagine you're just an old person living in your little hut, maybe on the coast of the island that you reside on. You realize that you're getting up there in age and realize that soon the ritual was going to happen. One day, a group of young men come into your house and tell you it's ritual time, and you prepare for what's about to happen, as you've seen it happen to other men your age. You're first given a mysterious neurotoxic drink. You are then carried to a nearby cliff by these young men. But these young men aren't just on this cliffside to watch the sunset with you. They are raising you above their head Lion King style and throwing you off a cliff.
What the fuck? You threw him off because he was old? Wait, am I missing something? I gotta be missing something. I got to be. Did this nigga like rape a child or something? I have got to be missing.
Realize that soon the ritual was going to happen. One day, a group of young men come into your house and tell you it's ritual time, and you prepare for what's about to happen.
Man, get out my room, young nigga. These damn YNs coming in here finna grab me and throw me off a cliff. Nigga, get the fuck out my room. Talking about a damn ritual.
Happen to other men your age.
That's crazy.
You're first given a mysterious neurotoxic drink. You are then carried to a nearby cliff.
These niggas is jolly skipping over there, man. Hell no.
These young men, but these young men aren't just on this cliffside to watch the sunset with you. They are raising you above their head Lion King style and throwing you off a cliff. That's right. The first execution method we're talking about is falling. Definitely one of the most simple entries on this list, but trust me, the implications are pretty wild. In this first example I gave in pre-Roman Sardinia, people were literally just executing the elderly. Like, this was a common ritual. During this time, if you were an elderly person who was unable to support themselves, you were ritually killed. And this was just an accepted practice in pre-Roman Sardinia. And as I described,
bro, that's so fucked up on so many levels, gang. I can't even lie to you.
Esme wanted to bundle together her love.
I mean, I get the logic, but damn.
As I described, how this would typically go is they would get the old person intoxicated through a neurotoxic plant that was known as the sardonic herb. Regardless, once they get their elderly victim nice and high, they will take them somewhere nice and high. And at that point, they have one of two options. They are either dropped from a high height or beaten to death and then dropped from a high height. And that's just the Sardinian version of an old folks home. There's really not too much more to say about literally falling off a cliff, but it is.
They give your ass some lean, how you just out of there, and then they throw you off a fucking cliff. And if you don't want to do that, if you ain't going for that, they just gonna beat you to death, then throw your body off the cliff, gang.
Interesting execution method, and I wanted to add it specifically for this reason because in Italy, they were just doing it differently. This wasn't the only time that falling was used as an execution method in modern-day Italy. For example, during the Roman Empire, an emperor by the name of Tiberius was known to also use this method, also for an interesting reason. Emperors would execute people for a plethora of reasons, but...
Alright, we're gonna skip to the next method. What the fuck? The upright jerker?
Your nighttime routine. But trust me, it's not nearly as fun. You see, in the 19th and early 20th century, the United States was doing a lot of hangings. And as society began to get more civilized, they thought, maybe these public hangings everybody loves is a bit barbaric. We should definitely keep executing people in public, but let's do it differently. And the product of that thought was the upright jerker, which kind of sounds like a nickname you would give someone who sleepwalks and sleepwanks at the same time. Seriously though, where the upright jerker differed from the traditional hanging...
Is that a thing? For my people that sleepwalk, is that a thing? Do people like sleepwalk and masturbate? Y'all let me know. That would be crazy if that's true.
Was as follows. Traditional hanging would take place on a gallows, typically high up with a trapdoor below the condemned person's feet. The execution place on a gallows.
We all know somebody built like this. Shit, my art teacher was built like this.
Typically high up with a trapdoor below the condemned person's feet. The executioner would open the trapdoor and the person would fall and the rope would snap their neck or quickly strangle them with the weight of their body compressing their neck in the noose. During this time, there was a lot of high-profile botched hangings, which is why they decided to try something new, something that they thought would be more effective. The upright jerker differed from traditional hangings because instead of being dropped from a height onto your neck, you would start on the ground and actually be lifted up by your neck. This would happen with the same style of noose being connected to the victim's neck, although the rope would be connected to a series of pulleys that would be connected to weights. So when the executioner was ready, he would activate the system and the condemned person would be hoisted up into the air, typically instantly breaking their neck, and if not, similar to hanging, would slowly be strangulated to death. Ouch. The name upright jerker comes from the victim obviously being upright and being shot into the air, but jerker refers to how the body would typically move after they would be flung into the air, because the pulley system would typically bounce the body up and down, jerking them. Definitely morbid. And an interesting take on hanging I haven't heard of until now.
Damn.
Sri Lanka. Crushing by elephant.
I mean,
you probably already get the idea, but I'm gonna give a bit more context because, believe it or not, there is some nuance to this. Unlike the very first example I talked about, this method was used on criminals, so we're at least off to a better start. How this execution method would work is, after the justice system of the time would do its thing, and then the person was then sentenced to death, they would then have them ready for the elephant execution. How this would look is the condemned person would be put on a pedestal, typically a smooth stone surface, and then they would bring in the elephants. But here's the thing, the elephant could go one of many ways. Depending on how trained the elephant was, they would either walk the elephant back and forth over top of the person until the elephant accidentally stepped on the vitals of this person, or if the elephant was more trained, the elephant would deliberately step on the person's...
Ow! Oh, fuck no! Gang, what? You finna bring a fucking elephant to step on me, nigga? Cause I stole some Skittles out of Walmart, you finna have an elephant step on my fucking chest or something, bro?
Torso, and even head to quickly execute the individual.
Dude, that will pop your head like a damn grape. Oh my God.
Simple, but extremely brutal. But these weren't the only ways that they would use elephants to their advantage. In some cases, they wouldn't even have the elephant step on the person at all, at least not at first. They wouldn't start with the person laying down. They would allow the elephant to grab the person by their trunk and throw them around. And then, once they were thrown to the ground, the elephant would then, do its little moonwalk. This method was used not only in Sri Lanka, but also in India and other parts of Asia for quite a long time, and was even popular up into the late 19th century, although in modern times it's no longer used. However, the terrifying stories still remain. And if you plan on becoming a time-traveling criminal, I definitely wouldn't recommend doing anything in Sri Lanka during the 17th, 18th, or 19th century, unless you want to get up close and personal with Dumbo. China. Execution vans. Okay, so this is the first modern method on the list, and surprise, surprise, is one of the only modern methods because a lot of the modern methods now are humane as they can be, and most places don't even do executions anymore. But leave it to China to give us an interesting entry for this list. And while most countries around the globe have been decreasing or even entirely eliminating the amount of executions they're doing every year, China is actually raising those numbers and has a plethora of laws that if you break, you can be executed, which is for that reason why they have the execution van, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is literally a van that is kitted out to kill criminals. From the outside, the van appears to be a 24-person bus with its windows covered and with minimal police markings. But on the inside of this bus, it almost resembles a hospital room, although nobody in this van is going to be healed. Typically, how it would work is once you end up on a Chinese death row, instead of going to a part of the prison where you'd be executed, you would be picked up by the van. And once in the van, you'd be strapped down to an operating style table and then injected with a lethal injection. And at that point, driven likely to the morgue. Truthfully, finding publicly available information on China's mobile execution chambers is a bit tough, although it's definitely not a secret. These execution vans have been in use since 2003 and are still in use to this day. Although technically this method is only lethal injection, I think the fact that China has systematized it to a point where they've made it a literal mobile execution chamber for maximum efficiency definitely earns it a spot on this list.
Okay, but like, are they going around, is it like only for people that were in prison? Or is like, you got a list of motherfuckers you're adding every day and you just driving to their crib and killing their ass in a van? Because that would be, I mean, it's still insane. And that lethal injection shit is not as humane as you would think, boy. From what I hear, they say your body, your veins start to burning, it gets a hurting, your shit starts shutting down, man. I don't want to go like that neither, I ain't gonna lie.
Imagine living in China and seeing this thing though. Like in your everyday life, when you see a hearse go by, you get kind of a feeling or a thought. But if you see an execution van go by, I can't imagine the literal aura of that
man,
thing.
You
Can't
better
be good. Spain.
Get the fuck out of there. Nigga, if I see that van pull up on my block, nigga, I am hidden, bro. I am finna beat my feet so crazy. You would think the ops just pulled up on me, nigga. Man,
I don't think they take that here.
Of course, you gonna have to catch me in that van.
Stuck in the past, baby.
That bitch slow. You ain't gonna catch me if I'm in the scat. You in that glass van.
All right, buckle up. Things are really taking a dark turn now. The garrote was used in the 1800s and the 1900s and was used not only in Spain but also in Spanish colonies like the Philippines. And interestingly, the garrote was seen as a more merciful form of execution compared to the going technique of death by burning, which I'll let you make your own opinion on once I explain the garrote. The garrote consists of a small seat for you to sit on and a wooden plank going up your spine. Once in the seat, you would have a metal loop wrapped around your neck. And directly behind your head on the wooden post that your spine is aligned with would be essentially a big screw. And what the screw would do was actually twofold. Because as the executioner would turn the screw from behind your neck, a sharp piece of metal would slowly be pressing against the back of your neck. And with every turn, your neck would become crushed by the piece of metal literally securing your head to this post. And how this victim would die would vary. But the two most common methods were either one, having the person's brainstem literally explode due to the pressure from the spike going through the back of the neck, or if you were lucky, before you even got to that point, you were asphyxiated to death by the pressure on your neck through the metal loop. Regardless, the garrote is absolutely brutal. Just for a quick pop quiz, when do you think they stopped using this brutal device? The use was officially and finally abolished in 1978. Only 47 years ago. Chances are if you're watching this video, either your parents or possibly even yourself were alive during the time that this device was still in use. Some history isn't as far back as you think. Let's keep moving. Uzbekistan. Boiling alive. I'm gonna preface this by saying that historically, boiling alive was used a lot in both England and China. But because we already talked about China and we're going to be speaking about England, I decided to pin this on Uzbekistan because they have the most recent recorded usage of this method. Now you might be asking yourself, what exactly is the method? And let me tell you. Death by boiling is when somebody boils not just water, but also animal fat, motor oil, cooking oil, or really any liquid of their choice, and then they would submerge their victim into this boiling liquid. And the result would be likely one of the most excruciating experiences humanly possible. and for that reason, it's on the list. Historically, Henry VIII made boiling the official execution method for anybody who committed murder via poisoning, as well as anybody who committed high treason. And during the 16th century in Japan, Japanese bandits were boiled alive as well. But in more modern times, specifically from 1991 all the way until 2016, Uzbekistan is alleged to have been boiling suspected terrorists on the regular. And this is kind of...
Nigga, 9 years ago, they were boiling niggas alive. I mean, I get they terrorists, but damn.
Confirmed by a United States Department of State document from 2004, which confirmed that the Uzbekistan government had tortured 2 gang members, and their bodies were extensively bruised, burned, and reportedly submerged in boiling water as well, making that allegation a little bit more real. And since we're speaking about boiling people alive in the modern day, there's a documentary that came out in 2010 about sicarios, the Latin American gang. And during this documentary, during an interview with a sicario, the sicario claimed that the Mexican cartel would boil alive anybody found to be working for the police. And
nah, I heard them cartel members, bro, they will put your ass in a 10, what is it? What's the name of that shit? A barrel, like a barrel of acid, and put you in that motherfucker while you're alive, gang. Them Mexican, man, I don't want no smoke with them Puerto Rican, Mexican gangs, bro. They mean business. They are crazy.
People were boiled alive in oil until they were no longer alive. So even though in the modern day, no country has boiling alive on their menu of official execution methods, there are definitely places where it's still being done, which is a terrifying thought. Ancient Rome, penalty of the sack. Ancient Rome's got a lot of history, and interesting execution styles is part of that history. Now, truthfully, penalty of the sack kind of sounds like something you'd pay a dominatrix for. But in reality, it's just the translation of the original Latin word, which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce because, well, you...
Polina.
Roast me. And similar to the very first execution method that we talked about, this method of execution was reserved only for a specific crime. That crime being parricide, or killing a member of your immediate family. So at least it wasn't used on, someone just who was old. It was at least used on a murderer, but still, the question remains, what is the punishment of the sack? Whose sack is being punished? How do they punish the sack? And don't worry, it's at least 100 times worse than any form of cock and ball torture you could imagine. Okay, jokes aside, penalty of the sack...
Wait, what? What did this nigga just say?
Any form of cock and ball torture
No Nelly. Nigga, no Nelly, no Diddy, no what?
Imagine. Okay, jokes aside, penalty of the sack went as follows. Someone would kill their parents, they would get caught, they would get convicted, then they are awaiting execution. Execution day comes, and this is how it plays out. The criminal is first put into either a barrel or a large burlap sack. The person is then told to curl up into a ball, and the bag or barrel that they are in is then either filled with snakes, monkeys, dogs, or chickens. And at that point,
Okay, but what is a monkey finna do to
either
me, though?
Filled with snakes, monkeys, dogs, or chickens.
Okay, what's a chicken finna do to me? I'm gonna beat the shit out that chicken. That monkey, that's not no gorilla or no ape. That's a damn monkey. I mean, I get they be biting hard and shit, but I'm whooping that monkey ass too. That dog, depending on what type of dogs they even had back then, nigga, did they have pit bulls and shit? Like, the only thing I'm really scared of is that damn snake for real. But like a dog, a monkey, and a chicken, I'm not going out like no corn. I'm beating. Fuck no. I ain't gonna lie to you.
At that point, the barrel or sack is sealed, and then you are thrown into the water. So not only are you panicking in this small confined space while you are slowly...
Oh, wait. Okay, so I can understand with the dog. So the dog, unless you kill the dog, that nigga gonna get hungry, right? He gonna try to eat you, I'm assuming. The snake get hungry, try to eat you. But what the fuck is a monkey and a chicken finna do to me, nigga? Y'all be crazy.
You're also in there with a wild animal, which, first of all, what did the animal do? What did this chicken, snake, what did they do? They didn't do anything.
What is a chicken finna do,
Imagine
bro?
just being a chicken and getting caught in the crossfire because this guy killed his parents.
For real,
regardless, in ancient Rome, drowning was simply not enough. That's wild. Medieval Europe, rat torture. This method was...
So they're not even in there for a reason.
With the Venmo teen account available for ages 13 to 17.
That shit's stupid as hell to me.
I knew I was underwater. I just didn't realize I was this underwater.
This method was pretty widely spread across all of Europe during the medieval era, so I'm just doing the region, not even the country. You're all guilty. Rat torture is definitely one of the most famous.
Nigga, that's what it looks like? Oh, hell nah, bro. Hell nah. Gang, that's crazy. Like, that rat shit is probably the most gruesome, torturous method I've heard, where they heat it up. Like, they don't even... Is there a heat on there? Maybe those are like hot lava coils or something. I don't know. But yeah, he looked like he having a fucked up Saturday, to be honest with you. He don't look like he
and one of the most brutal methods of execution likely ever used. And for that reason, you may already be familiar with this method. So I'll keep it brief. This method was used on any range of criminals, and although the method was considered torture, it essentially had a 99.99% fatality rate. Here's how it would work. You would be walked into the execution chamber, the dungeon, you know, the medieval places where people died, and you would be strapped down. Once strapped down, you would have a rat placed typically on your stomach. And on top of that rat, they would place a small cage firmly on top of your stomach, trapping the rat onto your body. And now you officially have a pet rat.
Imagine how
but
many
unfortunately,
people
this isn't the end
like
of the
this,
torture
bro.
method.
This
As
is a
once this
horrible
cage
way
was
to
secured
die.
to your body, the executioner would begin to apply typically heat to the rat to make it uncomfortable and force it to try to find a way out of this cage. And of course, it can't get through the metal cage. However, it could possibly burrow down. And that's exactly what would happen. This rat would begin to burrow and eat and scratch and claw through the person's body, typically going directly into their intestines, causing an excruciating and brutal experience.
How do you let these niggas walk you to this execution chamber and let this shit happen? Yeah, I'm finna make them cut my head off or something, bro. I'm not finna die like this. We finna fight. Y'all gonna get mad at me and try to do me in before we even get there. I'm not finna let you walk me to no hungry ass rat that's finna eat my insides, gang. That is crazy.
That would typically not instantly kill you, but cause a slow, excruciating, painful death in anywhere from a few hours to even a few days in some cases. This death was typically brought on by a loss of blood or disease. And it's really as simple as that. I can't think of many things more brutal than having rats forced to burrow through your body while you're still alive.
Horrible,
and
bro.
yet, there's still one final entry on this list. England, drawing and quartering.
England?
For the final entry on this list, I knew there was only one suitable entry, that being drawing and quartering. Primarily because it's not even a single execution method. It is a combination of three used sequentially. And they intentionally keep you alive during the initial, I guess not even executions, just torture methods until they ultimately kill you. Drawing and quartering was reserved specifically for traitors. And this method was supremely brutal because they wanted to set a very strong example that if you were a traitor, that the consequences were above all else. And interestingly, this method of execution was actually so brutal that they didn't even do it on women. They only did it on men. This rule was in place because, spoiler alert, the men would be naked during part of this execution, and they figured it would be too indecent to do that to women. So instead, women...
What? What the fuck you... Y'all wanted equality, right? What do you mean it's too indecent? You got my man dick and balls out. But she... That's crazy. Y'all was getting... women privilege. What is that shit called? What's the word, bro? I done forgot. What's that fucking word, bro? What's the fuck? I've been watching too much 607 on, bro. I don't know what...
got beheaded or...
Bro, what's that fucking word, bro? What is that word, gang? What the fuck? What is...
Which, as brutal as those are, they seem like child's play compared to drawing and quartering. So let's say you commit treason in medieval England. What exactly happens?
You're cooked.
First, you are removed from your jail cell and dragged by horse from the prison to the gallows. At that point, you are put on the gallows and hung. But not fully. You are only hung until you are half dead. Once the executioner feels that you are sufficiently hung, you are cut down. Once you are cut down, you are literally disemboweled, with the executioner removing your organs out of your body. And then the executioner will set your organs on fire. At that point, you are then beheaded. And then
Okay, I said I know what this is, but I clearly did not. I thought they was finna pull you apart. These niggas drug you by horse, hung you, cut you open and started throwing your organs out and then cut your head off?
You are beheaded, all 4 of your limbs are attached.
And then they do it anyway? Just for the fuck of it. You don't even feel it. They're just doing it for the fun. This shit is insane. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I damn near want to end this shit right here.
Your body apart. And that is the long and short of drawing and quartering. And there was kind of variations on how this kind of happened, but this was the head honcho of all of the techniques used. Initially, I actually planned on putting tearing apart by animals on the list because that alone is an extremely brutal method of execution. But once I learned about drawing and quartering, I realized that I had to save being torn apart by any animal for the method that included that, along with 3 other literal execution methods. It's probably one of the most brutal execution methods of all time, and was extremely popular during medieval times, and was only abolished in the 19th century, which isn't super recent, but not super long ago either. But there you have it. The next time you're hanging out with your friends, ask them.
Man, bruh, people are evil. The world is evil. This shit that they doing, bro, y'all are possessed by some type of demon. How do you even think of some of these torture methods? That shit is crazy, gang. Y'all let me know which torture method out of this was the worst that you have heard. And comment below some torture methods that are not in this video that are just out of this world, just crazy. But hey, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Subscribe. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, man. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. We out. I'm going to catch y'all in the next one.